Good evening, my friends. Welcome to Carpo's channel. Although that sounds a little silly because I'm sitting here in my room right now making a video, and of course you're watching at a different time. It fascinates me that I can make a video, and if I go back to the video within a couple hours, there's, you know, like 50 views. And when I think back to when I started my channel, I remember when I had like 5 or 6 views, and I thought, this is cool, you know, people actually want to hear what I have to say. As the years progressed, and I've been making videos for about 7 years now, I found that I'm a little more reluctant to even make videos now about random subjects. It's something that I always feared might happen. Not feared, but I guess I figured the more subscribers I get, it's almost like the more expectations there are to make a decent video. I can't make some random stupid video, you know, there's always somebody complaining. Not that that holds me back, I'll still make a quick short video. But in the last couple of years I've noticed that. And that's okay, that's just how situations affect us. And lately I haven't made any videos. I look back and in the last month I've only made a few videos. And I've still made at least a couple a week, but damn it, this thing keeps spilling in my pocket. I've still made a couple a week, but, and that may sound like a lot to somebody else who makes videos maybe once a week or every couple weeks or doesn't make videos at all. But this is my counseling, and beyond that, this is my journal, this is my release of ideas and information. And the more information that I'm processing and trying to handle at one time, the more likely I am to make a video about it. So for example, 3 or 4 years ago when I was really into Eastern mysticism, Buddhism and such, I made up to 3, 4, or 5 videos a day some days because I was so fascinated with the information that I was going through, and I had to share it while I was there. You know what I mean? It's like sharing the excitement when you're in the moment. And I've calmed down lately, but also I've come to somewhat of a roadblock in my personal life with you know, issues that have arisen, let's just say, within my family, issues that are circumstantial that I can't do anything about. And you want to be able to fix things, but sometimes things happen. Shit happens, and it's fucked up when it does, pardon my language. You know, every time I say the word fuck, I think, you know, maybe there's kids in the room and somebody's listening to the video, and I know that some people I listen to, you know, if they say that I kind of cringe. So my apologies for that, but it's, I try to be tactful in the way I use it, and I only use it when it really matters. It's a crazy life, you know, and there are some holy shit situations in life. And lately, let's just put it this way, lately I've been tested. My resolve has been tested. My patience has been tested. My mental alchemy and my acuity and my ability to process information in a constructive manner and to find the positive in a situation has been put to, let's just say, the utmost test. I'm under more pressure than I've been in 5 years, and that happens during a time when it's already the holidays. I have all these customers that need help, and I'm trying to process orders but also deal with my current situation and a few other things that came up. And it's, you know, it's all hell broke loose in the month of December 2017. So when people talk about 2016 and how bad it sucked, I remember last year everybody was talking about how bad the year sucked, and I thought, you know, 2016 was pretty good for me. 2017 was pretty good up until recently, but I'm still coping with it. But both years kind of sucked. With all of what's going on in the world, politics, the media, the whole thing is just crazy chaos outside there in the world. And I want to take a minute to touch on that, because I know a lot of people are hung up on what's going on in the world. And if I were to say, well, I'm not aware of that, or I don't care about that, there are people out there who might say, well, you should be informed and you need to be aware of what's going on in the Middle East or, you know, in another country. And I agree. It's important to know what's going on in the world. But You only need a general outlook, a general understanding. I don't need to know the politics of a government in, Spain. It doesn't affect me in any way that I can see directly in my life. And I realize that it may through the wayside, but my point being that we only have so much time to ponder the bullshit that's going on in the world. And the media makes all of their income off of making you ponder the bullshit in the world. This is why we are complaining on one hand about how, the same people who are saying, that the media is fake, or the media are liars, or that they're all biased, or that they're just out to make a profit. These are the same people who are talking about what's going on, and who want to know the latest news, and who want to understand. So here's the thing, if you're the journalist, or the person who's out there seeking out the news, which isn't usually the media companies, it's AP, or another, Associated Press, or one of the non-profit press organizations that are out there in the actual world doing the work. I mean, today's news channels are nothing more than journalism. But people want to be able to sit down in front of their television and be spoon-fed the bullshit that's going on. But they don't want the facts. They want the juicy, juicy details that are catered to their personal bias. So if you watch purely CNN, you're a moron for watching that and thinking, if you think it's true. But if you're watching purely Fox News, you're also a moron for thinking that that's all true. And that doesn't mean that anyone who watches just this, who watches media is a moron. It's a matter of wading through the information and saying, these people are saying this, these people are saying that. Maybe it's somewhere in the middle, but it doesn't matter. And when it comes to matters of the media talking about world issues and wars and pestilence and chaos, does it matter? And if it matters to you, so be it. That's great. What I'm trying to say is that it's kind of like spiritualism, if you will. When people talk about finding the truth, they find it, and there's no truth. There's no elusive truth. Enlightenment is a process, not a destination. And the idea of finding some universal truth, it's a dumbass game. It's a fool's game. You'll never get there. And I challenge anyone who disagrees to find someone who has found that and show me exactly what it is that they've found. But the point being that maybe they have in their own minds, but we as individuals have to find our own path. And there is no universal truth. What there is a whole bunch of people trying to seek what's going on in the world in order to better their own lives, but to not be harmed by the world around them. In other words, being informed is merely a matter of information. It means that you are following information with what's going on. You want to be informed because you want to be able to follow the path of least resistance. That's it right there. Understanding what's going on in the world should only serve you if it's the path of least resistance. And it's the same way with spirituality. That's why I was comparing the two. It's like the whole idea is to find something that works for you, and something that you can find as a path to cope with the everyday bullshit that we all deal with, which it's okay to admit, that we're all kind of fucked together. We all have all these crazy moments where we're unsure of ourselves. Perhaps we go a little psychotic sometimes. Maybe we deal with someone else who's having a psychotic episode. Perhaps we have delusions of grandeur, or others around us do. Or perhaps we become depressed, or we become elated, or, whatever it may be. We go through phases in our life where we either need help, or we have people in our lives who are going through phases where they need help. And the whole idea is to try to ease the burden on each other so we can grow and learn. Because every experience, it's not a stumbling block, it's a learning curve. Whenever somebody goes through a hard time, the only thing I can say positive is, now you've got something to cry about. Now you got something to sing about. Now you've actually faced adversity, and now you have shit in your life to look back on and go, wait, I don't want to do that again. It's just like putting your hand on a hot stove, okay? Think of anxiety and depression like touching a hot stove. Once you've been through it, you don't want to do it again. and you're careful not to, and you're warned, your brain picks up on this, you say, oh, I'm not falling back into that rut. This doesn't mean that it always works, because some people fall into an utter depression about everything, or an utter anxiety about everything, and I'm not going to sit here and pretend like I'm some guru who understands how to conquer anxiety. All I can say is I've had the most anxious month I've had. The way I cope with it is, for example, today I played the first two Pantera albums back to back. Heavy metal, one of my favorite metal bands from the 90s, and listened to them both front to back while I was filling orders for my business, and not quiet. I mean, it was fucking loud. I mean, I got a bass, subwoofer over here that I just crank up and rocked out. And often I work in silence, but I needed it, and it was my outlet. And heavy metal was always my outlet. And when I look back to when I was young, I realized that's why I loved heavy metal so much when I was a teenager. My dad died when I was 15, I believe. 14, 15. And I was really into heavy metal during that time, and I realized that helped me cope and process. Going to metal shows, headbanging, moshing it like Anthrax and Iron Maiden and Megadeth, just going to these shows and just like letting loose. And I realized today I do the same thing, I just do it at different shows. I go to, like I'm going to see Excision in February, and I've been going for like the last 3 or 4 years. I think this might be my either third or fourth year that I've gone to Excision in Portland. And I go by myself every year, because I don't know anybody else who listens to that hardcore of, like, whatever you call it. I don't like to label electronic music. It's dubstep, extreme dubstep, hardcore dubstep. There are like a fucking million subgenres of this shit. And as a musician myself, it's not that I'm not aware. It's just that trying to describe anything in the terms of, subgenres is nearly impossible. Except glitch hop, which is another one of my favorites. Just love it. Probably because it incorporates a lot of 80s kind of, 80s video game sounds into it. And there's a nostalgia involved in that. But that's part of being a happy person, is finding nostalgia in your life, I'm not an ultimate pleasure seeker. I'm the kind of person who just says, well, it's all about embracing everything and just enjoying your life, because there's going to be pain. I've come to terms with that. If anything, I don't associate it with any religion or belief system, but I would say that I'm a Taoist, if anything, and in my own way. Just like I'm a Zen master in my own way. And that's for myself. I'm a Zen master to myself. I look at myself from the outside, even as I'm sitting here making this video. I'm sitting over there watching myself in a way, saying, do you look like an idiot? Who cares? You're being yourself. There's always that inner voice, but it's more than that. It's a matter of saying, are you being respectful? Are you cussing a lot? All these things. Too many people don't follow that. They don't look at themselves. They prefer not to be just a hairless ape, but an ape. And there's nothing wrong with that if you want to follow your instincts, but for those who want to seek higher wisdom and actually have it pay off, there's a certain amount of, there are patterns you have to follow. I've been trying to figure out, there's different metaphors that come to mind, like I was telling somebody the other day, I was like, it's not about blazing your own path, because doing that, there's a lot of bushwhacking involved and you might get lost. You want to follow the least walked paths, but kind of weave in and out and find your own way. Everybody wants to have an original idea and do something great with their lives, but on the shoulders of giants is the term that is building on the people who came before us. It's something that is well known in philosophy circles, the idea that people who came before us gave us a structure, a framework to build on, a foundation. Science is a foundation. Let's say alchemy was a foundation for science, which is modern chemistry, which is a foundation for, whatever comes next. Understanding how chemicals interact is one thing, but there's so much to it. Just like with any type of a practice that, and really it doesn't matter if it's spiritual or religious, what matters is how does it serve you? That is the 5-letter question, or the 5-word question that I would leave as this video as the main message. How does it serve you? And that goes for everything. Belief systems, food, diets, all these things. How do they make you feel? Because you can't base what you believe on what everyone else tells you, but you have to build a foundation on what's come before you. You're not going to go out and eat dirt and gravel and expect to be healthy. You see people before you eating meat, you know, or eating vegetables, or, you know, berries, fruits, whatever it might be. And you say, okay, they're not dying, they're doing okay. And they tell you, yeah, this is what people eat. I mean, I know that that seems very rudimentary and simple, and it is, but if nobody had ever told you what to eat, and you just appeared right now with a modest intellectualism or a modest intelligence without knowing what you should be eating, without any intuition, what would you eat, you know? You'd probably eat leafy leaves and tree branches, and, you know, you wouldn't know is the point. We are taught from each other, and this leads us down a lot of weird paths. Like with whether or not to eat meat, for example. And I won't really get into that one, but I will say that I'm not a vegetarian, and I understand that some people are, and I respect that. I believe that there is a place for meat. For example, if somebody's having certain psychological disorders, it turns out that eating red meat can be beneficial. I won't go into detail as to why, but there are certain compounds within certain meats, depending on what you're eating, that can be useful, and it definitely has an energy potential which is stronger than most vegetables, period. And that doesn't mean that a person should eat meat. I'm just saying, I don't have any hang-ups on what I should or shouldn't do based on what others tell me. I can look at the world and say, yes, mass farming is horrible, and I prefer not to eat crappy, generic, shitty Walmart meat, that kind of stuff. We all have our limits. We all have, you know, have to build how we act and how we live in our lives on what we see around us. But things aren't as simple as people want them to be. And I guess if there was any message I'm trying to convey in this video, which it's pretty much just a ramble, but don't let anybody tell you what the fuck is important. It's so frustrating that there are so many people out there who claim to know something about the way the world works that nobody else knows. And I'm willing to be that one guy that calls all of them out and says, bullshit, your new age crap is complete bullshit. Let me give you an example. You ever heard of a guy named David Sereda? S-E-R-E-D-A, I believe. I get an email from this, like, it's this new age like website that sends me these emails for some reason, and they're always saying, you know, we can align your chakras, or come do this 7-day cruise on the Nile River, and, you know, we'll tell you your purpose in life and your divine plan. And I've emailed him back several times, just randomly when I get emails, because I've had dozens, said, do you really believe this guy is saying this? Because basically it's like a new age website that sponsors these particular people. Now, David Sereda's been around since the 80s, and he's, in my eyes, a charlatan. But in his eyes, maybe he really believes what he's saying. Give you a long story short, you send in a hair sample to him, and he claims that he uses quantum non-locality in order to keep you healthy. This is the same thing as this other thing called scalar energy, which another guy, and Tom Palladino is his name, and he claims that he has this scalar energy company where you send him a picture of yourself, he puts it on this machine, and he will heal you. He will assemble nutrients in your body from a distance. And, you know, this is why I'm reluctant to believe New Age bullshit. This is why I say fucking bullshit when people claim that they can heal from a distance, or why I'm resistant to Reiki, which I know I even have friends and subscribers who do Reiki, and I'm not trying to offend them at all. But Reiki is less than 100, or like 100 years old, and it was come up by a guy who went to a mountaintop and basically starved himself and had delusions. It doesn't mean that it doesn't work. What matters is the intention of the person. This is what's important, and there are intention healing techniques which have been shown to show promise, but my thing is like not to doubt things, but to say, how does it really work? You know, how do we really heal? You know, if you need a house full of amethysts and crystals to heal, that's fine. But there's a term for that, spiritual hoarding. There's also a term for the people who pretend to be totally peaceful and say, oh, I don't have negative emotions, everything's just fine. They call that spiritual bypassing. And, you know, that was coined in the 80s, but it doesn't, what it means is that we deflect our negativity by pretending like negativity is a bad trait. And we say it's a form of superiority, which has led to our modern day bullshit Western version of yoga. You know, who's got the hottest yoga pants and who can sit in the position the longest? Anybody who tells you they do yoga and tells you how good they are at it has completely fucking missed the point. You know, these are personal healing techniques. I understand that we want society to respect us for that. It would just be like cannabis. I smoke cannabis, but I know a lot of people who claim to be spiritual would say, oh, I love cannabis, it helps me become more spiritual. And others who would say, oh, didn't you know, bro? Smoking weed blocks your chakras, man. You know, it calcifies your pineal gland. And the other dude's like, no, man, it decalcifies your pineal gland. Like, why are you saying pineal? It's pineal. You know the point. It doesn't matter. Nobody really knows a goddamn thing about what's going on. And I challenge anyone who says they do to provide their facts, because that's really what it comes down to, is we can't prove how we feel or the facts that we have in our minds, our deepest, darkest understandings of how the universe works. And I have seen a lot of things through my psychedelic experiences and sober experiences that have shown me that the universe is all one, that we are all connected. But yeah, that doesn't serve me in my daily life when I have to pay my bills, feed my children. I have 3 kids, I have a wife, I have a mortgage. You know, all these things require partaking in society, and moving to an ashram or living in a, you know, meditation village or retreat and wearing an orange robe isn't for me. I am a Western Zen master of my own mind. And I'm happy with that. I don't need to lead anybody else, teach anybody else, but I definitely enjoy making videos and sharing my information with people as best I can. I won't pretend that this is a sacrament, but I need a bong hit. Back when I was a kid, having a fucking silicone bong would have been the best thing. Glassmakers would have hated it from then. These things are great. I duct taped like a little container on the side so I can put some nugs in it. That's perfect. Maybe that's tacky to some of you. I realize that. Somebody out there is thinking, oh, you're smoking pot. But to me it's no different than tobacco, or taking kratom, or drinking tea. I've been smoking pot for like 28 years. I smoke only a few bowls a day these days, but I used to smoke a lot more. In the evening I puff a little heavier. And right here I've got my espresso. I made some fresh espresso with some Jaeger, Kahlua, vodka, a little bit of cream, and I think that's it. Yeah. 5-part mixture. Turned out to be pretty damn good. Oh, a tiny bit of chocolate. So, for what it's worth, this has been my ramble. I probably won't make one for a while. This is an interesting year for me, dealing with some shit, trying to move through it, and hopefully this will be a little therapy for me. Tomorrow is the solstice. I always make a solstice video, so I'll probably bust one out tomorrow. And I hope you all are having a fucking awesome day. And I'll talk to y'all soon. Have a wonderful holiday. Whatever you believe, whoever you are, whatever you do. And we'll talk to you soon. And thanks for being a part of Carpo's channel for what it's worth. Because without you, the subscribers, as much as I love to listen to myself talk, you know, you give me grounding. Your comments and the understanding that I get from your awesome comments, and I'm grateful to have you out there. So, thank you, subscribers. You're cool. Peace. Take care.